Welcome inside episode 662 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains, in the Ottawa Senators led but lost against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And it's a Wednesday show, so it's back to our SensCentral Citizen section, and today it's Keegan Little.
And you won't believe what a Sens abroad pulled off for the first time in his career. All that coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Wednesday, November 2nd. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, where the best way you can help the show grow is to like every video by clicking the thumbs up and subscribing to the Locked On Senators channel. Be a friend, tell a friend as well. And man, the postcast last night was something else. A lot of frustration, especially from me. I just hate to see these continuous errors leading to losses in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, not ideal, Ross, that's for sure. And I think the big thing for me is that you're so close in all of these losses and you don't come away with a single point in any of them. Like, that's where it really crumbles down to. Like, the Senators, some way, somehow, we're still in this game in the third period, and then 3 third-period goals, and you walk away with a big 0 in the point column. So the Senators aren't going to be able to keep doing this if they're going to have any hopes of... the bar is set at playing meaningful games, and right now, the Ottawa Senators are not trending in a direction where it seems like in 60 games from now, they have a sustainable record.
However, if you're not a fan of the Ottawa Senators and you just like watching entertaining hockey, they've been playing fun games back and forth. Yep. You don't know what's going to happen next. But if you're a fan of the team, you see the Toronto game where they were struggling to create offense. They get one, and then they give it right back late in the game. Then we have the same script against Florida. They get absolutely pummeled. Somehow, they still have a chance to win the game. Same thing happened last night against Tampa Bay Lightning. This was a team that somehow led 1-0 after being outshot 13-2 in the first period. Somehow they were, and then they were leading again in the second on a 5-on-3 kill. They get the go-ahead goal, or I should say the go-ahead goal. Exactly. They're up 2-1. Then Killorn ties it 2-2. Ottawa goes ahead right after. 40 seconds later, They take another lead, and then in the last 7 minutes and 5 seconds, they give up 2 goals, both to players who you have to be aware when they're on the ice. And Pilsy, I think the awareness is where I want to start this because it's your top pair both times. Yes, Brayden Point has a ton of speed coming down the middle of the ice. Kucherov makes a nice little touch play, but the gap has to be a little tighter than that. You can't let a player like Brayden Point have that much time and space through the middle of the ice.
Yeah, that one's tough for me, Ross, because I can't decide whether that was a poor defensive play or an incredible offensive play. But when both of your defensemen are right there, and really there's no other assignment for those guys in the moment, somebody's got to try to cut off the middle of the ice or get a stick in the lane or do anything, something to slow him down. But I don't think they were expecting Brayden Point to come in there with that much speed. Like, he was going stride for stride from his own blue line and caught that one-touch pass from Kucherov in stride. So that's a difficult play, but when you've got Chabot and Brandstrom both just sitting there watching him skate by, it's tough.
And on TV, he comes out of nowhere, right? But these guys have to have their head on a swivel, and you said it. Point was coming from his own blue line. If you see that guy with so much speed coming down the middle,
you got to anticipate something, yeah.
Brandstrom was closer to the boards than he was to the middle of the ice. Chabot's the far side defender in this situation, but you just have to be ready. And that pair was burned again. What do you think is more egregious then? Leaving Kucherov wide open without even shoulder checking him?
For me, that's the issue, Ross. We were watching the condensed game together before recording, and that's the one that really glared out to me because it's a tie game right now. The Lightning are absolutely pressuring. They're putting it all on. They're trying to get this game won in regulation.
2.5 minutes left.
Yeah, it's coming down to the wire here. You're so close. All you got to do is hold them off for 2.5 minutes, and you can finally get that one elusive point that you can't seem to grab. And Chabot and Brandstrom are both battling for the puck behind the net. So no defenseman is out front. Now, I know they're trying to pressure, get that puck out and clear it, but one of you has to have some sort of awareness that, hey, I'm here, and so is the other guy. No one's out in front of the net right now. The puck goes to the far side. Then they switch. Okay, puck's not behind the net. Let's get back to our positions. Thomas Chabot is just standing there. He's just standing there looking. Yeah, there's some paranormal activity going on in Winnipeg here. If you're watching on YouTube, Ross is freaking out. The ghosts of November past are coming back to haunt him and all Sens fans. But the issue is Thomas Chabot is just standing there. She's in the right position. But who gives a damn if you're in the right position if you're not paying attention to your zone? You talked about this, Ross. You wanted them to play more in zones. Okay, Chabot's in his zone. Congrats. Check mark. But you're leaving Nikita Kucherov right beside you, wide open. And yeah, who? Cooch. Who? Cooch. And he scores the game-winning goal off a nice cross-ice pass. And it's from a bad angle. So all Chabot has to do is be aware that he's there, and either he can block that shot, get a stick in the lane, or force him even wider, and then that shot doesn't have the possibility of going in. It doesn't happen. He's puck watching. And this is what's happening to the Ottawa Senators defense when games get down to crucial stretches. Everybody is just so focused on that puck. There's nothing else going on. And you got to be aware of where it is. But you also have to be aware when one of the game's greatest scorers and craftiest players in Nikita Kucherov, where is he on the ice in these moments? And Thomas Chabot does not have that awareness, and that ultimately leads to the goal, therefore the loss.
Last year, we would have just said, you know what, Tampa Bay has more talent than the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, and then we would have chalked that up as a good rebuilding game, right, Ross? Like, they hung in there, like, guys learned lessons, the young players were doing good, but this year, we thought we were past that in Ottawa Senators hockey, but unfortunately, these kinds of things are still happening. Like, who cares if the games are close? Like, that's what I'm trying to hold on to, Ross. That's why I'm not pressing the panic button, because these games have been close and they've had a chance to win. But at the end of the year, Gary Bettman doesn't go down the list and say, you had a couple close games, we'll put you in the wild card. How about that? That's not how things work, unfortunately.
Yeah, if you take out empty net goals against, every single game was a 1-goal game.
Yeah.
That they've lost. However, you don't get anything for that except a fat L in the standings, and especially when 3 of your 5 losses now on the season, the Sens are 4-5 now on the year. It's especially frustrating when those losses come in the last 5 minutes of the game. This one was almost tied late. We'd be remiss not to discuss Brady Tkachuk's miracle attempt at the end of the game. So Nick Paul thinks that he's iced it, 5-3, but he's offside. And that wasn't even a challenge from the Sens bench. All goals within, I believe, the final 2 minutes are reviewed by the league. So I thought, because the refs were atrocious the whole game. We don't talk about the refs on this show, but for both teams, big yikes. Even like I mentioned on Twitter at SensCentral, because it's easy to complain about the Sanderson high stick that was not a high stick. And Ross Colton should have a chat with the league about that, because it was like 5 seconds late. Someone did that in my beer league game last night, and I was like, dude, you reacted like 10 seconds later. What are you doing? So you could talk about that, but like even the Sergachev cross check on Chabot was soft, like both sides. It was soft reffing, very bad. So after that, he goes, Toronto is taking a look at this. I was like, do the refs not even know that it's Ottawa, not Toronto?
Yeah, I thought so too, Ross. I was like, guys, come on here.
You got to know what teams are playing. Come on. But even still, you know what? They call that back. Then it looks like they're going to score on the empty net again. It's a missed opportunity at one end. And then all of a sudden, just a rocket pass by Stamkos backwards. And I don't know what Brady Tkachuk was doing there.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But it worked. He got a breakaway, and I froze frame it right at the moment. He missed the post by that much.
But was time expired? Like, does that count if that goes in?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. You didn't match that with freeze frames?
Well, no, because the only angle that actually like you could see closer enough didn't have the score bug.
Fair.
I would have had to call Toronto and get a better explanation of that one. But that's why for the postcast, like I put completely outclassed. Ottawa was outshot in this game. They had 15 of their own, and they let up 34 shots in this game. It was a complete firing squad, especially through the first two periods. 26 shots against, and only one goal at that point in the game for Anton Forsberg to let in. But it's incredible that they were able to make it as close of a game as they did. Pilsy, I need to repeat this because you said it so perfectly in the postcast. This is a game they had absolutely no business winning, but this is also a game I can't believe they lost. Like leading the postcast with that was just the most perfect descriptor of what we saw last night.
Yeah, because I just it was crazy because I was sitting there thinking the Sens are hanging on to this lead. Forsberg is playing amazing. They're getting massive opportunities. I mean, Ross, I can't even think of a single other time in my lifetime where a player has had honestly, that Matthew Joseph goal was a penalty shot on a 3-on-5. He was wide open for the entire half of the ice. It was a full breakaway for half of the ice. At center ice, Stamkos dives, Joseph beats him, and he gets it, and he buries it. Then later, two of the, I don't think, maybe one other guy you could slot in there, but if I'm picking two guys to go in on a 2-on-0, Timmy and Drake Batherson are probably the top two, if not top three. Maybe you get to Brinkett in there, but you can't chalk it up better than that.
Well, DeBrincat got them the puck.
Yeah, exactly. So those guys combining to lead to a 2-on-0 for Timmy and Drake, and then they play it perfectly. Drake gets it over to Timmy. He waits. He sells the shot a little bit, passes it over right on the tape to Drake, and Vasilevsky gets the save. You need to bury those. And they've had those big chances where they couldn't score, but they were holding the team off. So yeah, that's a game that your Ottawa Senators could have won. But at the same time, it wasn't even close. Tampa was out shooting them like mad. They had 9 power plays. They had 5-minute major power play. They were getting shots left, right, and center. They were putting the pressure on at the end of the game. So say what you want, and it's not fun for an Ottawa Senators fan, but yeah, that was a damn entertaining game of hockey. Cool.
Yeah, Tampa goes 1 for 8 on the power play. The Senators go 0 for 3. However, people are asking us to look at the positives in this one. We're going to do that after our SensCentral Citizen. But one last note, and I mean, this is just a stat. Call me negative, call me whatever. This is just a fact. Last night, the Ottawa Senators had 15 shots on goal. Last year, they had 14 shots on goal in one of their games against Seattle, a 4-2 loss.
Yeah.
You have to go all the way back to 2013, where they had less than 15 shots outside of that one game. And that was 11 shots, and they won the game, which is absurd. A 2-0 win. Shout out Craig Anderson. Still in the league 9 years after that, and he was 32 in that game. You can't win when you don't shoot the puck on net. And Ottawa was just unable to get high-danger quality chances on Andrei Vasilevsky, who looked awful in net. And that's rare to say about a goalie of his stature.
Ross, especially when your team has been designed to run and gun. Your team has heavy offense up front. Just get puck to those forwards and they'll figure it out. And the defense is a weakness big time, and we can't rely on them to shut other teams out. So when you're not even getting to a point where you're able just to toss the puck on net with your elite shooters, you're only getting 15 shots, you're going to struggle to win hockey games, especially up against elite contenders like the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, well, the Ottawa Senators aren't going to have any easier tests coming up. The Vegas Golden Knights are in town tomorrow. Mark Stone back in the nation's capital, and Vegas is 9-2 on the season with a +16 goal differential. And oh yeah, they've won 5 games in a row. Measuring stick game.
I'm nervous for this one, Ross. And I said it. I had a bad feeling about the last game, and it turned out to be true. I don't even like this game against Vegas. Isn't even like ooh, how am I feeling? It's how bad am I feeling? It's not am I feeling bad or good. It's how bad am I feeling? And I would again advise people to maybe log off the sports gambling sites for that to game up against Vegas. Even the player props, Ross. I know you and Martian love the props. Take a night off, maybe.
What do you think the all-time record is for the Ottawa Senators against the Vegas Golden Knights?
Can you tell me how many games?
I can tell you how many games. They have played 8 games.
2-5-1.
1-7.
Oh.
The one win came on March 3rd, 2018.
Damn. And it's like when you think of that, Ross, like the age-old thought is you gotta beat the crap out of expansion teams in their early years because they're struggling to build, and that was not the case with the Vegas Golden Knights. And even I mean, the Seattle Kraken had a way worse expansion draft, and the Ottawa Senators, you just mentioned that embarrassing game up against them last season. So not good up against the expansion teams, especially a team that now is fully kind of matured into a great team in the West in the Vegas Golden Knights.
Could not agree more. All right, let's get to our SensCentral Citizen, and then coming up on the other side, we're going to get to a positive about this Ottawa Senators team, because I don't know how we're all of a sudden the negativity guys after being toxic positivity, as some would have called us before. We're just trying to navigate through an extremely frustrating start to the season. Like, it's not that they're just losing, it's how they're losing that as a fan, I don't understand how you can't be a little frustrating. They lost the game in regulation against Toronto with 1:55 left. In Florida with 3:32 left. In Tampa with 2:30 left. You get a point in 1, 2, or 3 of those games, and you're not sitting in last place in the division. The only team lower is the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they've played an extra game. So you got that, but we're going to get another positive despite a 3-game losing streak for your Ottawa Senators. All right, Pills, you got a quick word from one of our favorite sponsors.
Hey, Ross, if we want to get things more positive, this is a way to go, because Built Bar protein bars are delicious and they are full of health benefits. So delicious and good tasting. There's 2 positives right there. How about that for the negativity on this show, Ross? Because Built Bar, any flavor you like is going to put a smile on your face. I'm on the website right now, and it's incredible. Halloween is over, but these sound like incredible candy bars to me, Ross. You got Snickerdoodle Chunk, Churro, Mud Pie Bar, Toffee Almond, Banana Cream Pie, Coconut, Salted Caramel, Cookies and Cream, Chocolate Peanut Butter, German Chocolate Cake. All of those sound incredible, and that's because at Built Bar, they figure out how to make their bars taste good, and then how do you make it healthy. Perfect example, every single bar is covered in 100% chocolate. And have you tried the new Built Puffs? They have marshmallows in them. How in the world is that healthy? Well, have you heard of a protein-infused marshmallow? That's how they do it. And Ross, I know you subscribe to this too. The Built Bar Puffs are their best yet. They are so delicious. They're soft, they're easy to chew, they're high in protein, low in sugar, low in calories, and high in fiber. And best of all, they taste great. So don't just take my word for it though. Run to BuiltBar.com or Built.com now it is, and you can find out for yourself. Go to the website, Built.com, use promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your next order. One more time, Built.com, promo code LOCKEDON15 to get 15% off. It's Built Bar, the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar.
All right, now let's get to this week's SensCentral Citizen. Here is Keegan Little. All right, we now welcome on this week's SensCentral Citizen. We're going to West Carleton to catch up with Keegan Little. You can go follow him on Twitter at LIL_Little28. Keegan, welcome to the Locked On Senators. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. On the mend. Apologize for the stuffy voice, but it's great to be here, and you guys are helping the healing process, so thank you very much for having me.
Hey, you helped us out. If people aren't aware, last spring at the Montreal-Ottawa game, Keegan was nice enough to give our drunk asses a ride home, for lack of a more distinguished term. So we appreciate that, Keegan, and we appreciate you making time for us. And it's great to hear that you're back doing well after a bout with the old coronavirus. So great to have you here. We're excited. If people are just listening, Keegan's rocking like the old school 1800s Ottawa Senators sweater. Not jersey, sweater. That thing is so sharp, man. How'd you get that?
So they had, I forget when I got it. I think it was like 2012, and they just had it as a special on the store. They just brought it back for a heritage thing, and I saw it. And at the time, I actually didn't own a Sens jersey. I was just kind of getting into hockey as a little more hardcore fan. Saw it, thought that'd be great to have on the ODR. So it was the first sweater that I asked for Christmas, and I got it.
Nice. There you go. Now, have you dipped your toe in the jersey game now as well? What kind of jerseys you got, or are you just strictly a hockey sweater guy?
So I've only ever bought one hockey jersey in my life, and that was because I lost a bet with a friend last year, and I had to get him a Red Wings jersey. Oh. We have it this year as well, so hopefully I get my Sens jersey. But I'm more of a sweater guy. I have some jerseys that are just hand-me-downs from my older brothers. Yep. But no, I like sweaters. This one especially. This is my favorite. It's brought me good luck, so I'm not changing it.
Wait, so what is the jersey bet? We got to hear the jersey bet. Is it just better record, or how does it go?
Yeah, just better record. Whoever finishes above the other in the standings, the other person needs to get them a jersey. So we were fighting tooth and nail at the end of the year. Detroit beat Ottawa by 1 point. Oh. And they got that 1 point at the last game of the year. Wow. So him and I, he'd either come to my place or I'd go to his, and we'd watch games and we'd be yelling at each other. It was awesome.
That's great. So you mentioned 2012 was when you started getting into hockey. Tell us about your origin story. How'd you become a Sens fan?
So it's a bit of a redemption story, actually. I started as a Leafs fan. Yeah, there's reasoning. My dad, born and raised in Toronto, so he's a Leafs fan. My two older brothers are both Leafs fans. They wore Sens jerseys growing up, but they were Leafs fans.
So you're peer pressured. We'll forgive you.
I was peer forced. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there's a difference. Yeah.
But I started playing the video games probably 2004 was the first one I really played, and Zdeno Chara was a big reason why I started going on the Sens team. And then in the late 2000s, I really loved Anton Volchenkov. He was my favorite player growing up. He's the reason I started playing hockey, and the reason why my first ever jersey was number 24. So after that, I just started watching hockey a bit more. We were a soccer family, but have progressively turned into hockey. And then with the lockout shortened season in 2013, this is when I first started watching every single game. Hamburglar run happened, got me more enthralled. 2017 conference final run made me a diehard. And then since then, I've just dove right into it. I could probably recite to you every team's cap hit now and everything else. So it sucked me right in.
Yeah, that's fair. So, but you mentioned you're in the Ottawa area now. Where are you born and raised Ottawa area guy, and your family was all Leafs fans, or how did that work geographically?
So me and my three siblings were all born and raised Ottawa. My mom's from BC. She was originally a Habs fan, and then when she moved to Ottawa, she became a Sens fan. My dad, like I said, born and raised Toronto, moved to Ottawa, stayed as a Leafs fan.
So you got a split household. The Battle of Ontario must be extra spicy for you guys.
Oh, yeah. My oldest brother and I, he's 7 years older than I am. And years ago, when COVID first hit and the shutdowns happened, we actually started a mini podcast ourselves as like a Battle of Ontario podcast.
Yep.
It doesn't exist now because we don't have the time for it. I don't know how you guys do this, but games are fun. We usually try to hit at least one game a year and get everyone out, though everyone's married now, so there's 10 of us, so it's a little difficult. But yeah, it gets rowdy here. It's a lot of fun.
I believe it. Hey, just because we're talking about sweaters, let's give a little respect to number 20.
Yes! That's awesome. I can't believe you have that. That is great.
Of course, man. And you can tell it's a little game worn. Hey, been to a couple
Battle
games.
scars. Yeah.
Couple Lake leaves on my sweater here over the years. But Keegan, you mentioned some of the guys like Zdeno Chara, but when you think back to Ottawa Senators history, who is the one guy, maybe aside from Anton Volchenkov as well, because we could talk about his big hits and block shots all day long, all week, but who are some of your other favorite players from growing up?
So I remember Ottawa's infamous third line of Kelly Neil Ruutu very well.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah, I loved Jarkko Ruutu. I thought it was great to have. I love the European players because of their personalities and they're just fun. I was at the skills competition where Ruutu had his wig on and the sparks on his heels and everything, and talking about his favorite snacks being buffalo fingers when he bit that guy. And it's just, oh man, like Ruutu was.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. And a guy who always had a soft spot in my heart was Colin Greening. I loved Colin Greening.
Nice.
I had such high hopes for him. I was at that skills competition where he won fastest skater and hardest shot. So I was like, this guy's going to be our next 80 goal scorer. He's going to break all the records and everything. And then it just didn't work out.
He had one big year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so did Jonathan Chichu, and we thought he would be great, and it didn't work out that way either. I've always had a fondness for the bottom six grinder guys, so those are usually the ones I think of first.
So who's your favorite bottom six grinder on the team right now?
Parker Kelly.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Parker Kelly and Mark Kastelik. Parker Kelly's a little different. I have a soft spot for him because my nephew was just born last month, and his name is Parker. So it's like I like Parker Kelly a little bit more, but I also saw the breakaway video that the Sens just put out of their pickleball tournament down in Florida. Mark Kastelik's a monster. That guy's a walking fridge. Holy crap. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, he's my guy. I like that.
Yeah, he is an absolute beast. DJ Smith said it himself, the strongest player in the organization right now. And so Keegan, their Sens are 4-5 right now. It has been a roller coaster of a season. Down all the way up, and now coming all the way back down again. Where are you at with this Sens team? Are you taking that panic button out of the wrapper and smashing it, or is it safely tucked away still?
It's definitely tucked away still. I'm getting frustrated for sure. You can only use the excuse of injury so much, right? Like I know Zub, your top pair right side defenseman, and Norris, your 1A or 1B, whatever you want to call it, center being out is massive for any team. But the forwards should be able to compensate for Norris, and they haven't been. And as for the D, there's nothing to say about Zaitsev that hasn't already been beaten to the ground. Like whether he's an NHL player or not, he's not an NHL player on this team in this system. So he shouldn't be playing in it. I don't like the idea of selling the farm for Chychrun. I don't even think Chychrun's worth it. I think we have players that are too similar to him for us to even get him. Like, he's basically, in my opinion, Sanderson light. And I'm saying that with full confidence. Like, Sanderson, might even be better than him already. So why spend all that much to get him? I don't know if there's anyone else available. Ethan Bear could have helped with D. Forsberg's been standing on his head, so goaltending's not the issue. It sucks to see Cam Talbot out as well, but this team's been through injuries the last 2-3 seasons at a ridiculous rate, and it's always been to key players. But you look at a team like Pittsburgh, they go through stretches with no Crosby and no Malkin, and then they have a guy like Evan Rodriguez being a player, right? So it's like good teams find a way to win. And all this is really showing is that, yeah, Ottawa has a lot of these great pieces, but maybe we did overhype them a little, saying that they're going to be a playoff team already, and they're still young, they're still learning, and they just need time to develop into that elite team. So I would say the panic button's away. I'm just disappointed in getting a reality.
So with that reality check, changes have to be made, whether it's strategy, whatever it is. You got to make some changes when you've lost multiple games in a row. If you're DJ Smith, Keegan, what's the first thing you do?
Bench Zaitsev and go up to Dorian's office and have one of JBD or Thompson, whoever's playing better. This isn't about development anymore. As much as I say that they're still learning, it's time to start winning, and it's time to start showing people that you're trying to win. Either, like, they called up Dylan Hetherington to try and replace Zub. They never played him.
And he's
So
back down
if
now.
you're going to call
Keegan.
someone up, make it someone who's going to play.
Yeah,
So that they sent him back
he
down.
got sent
So
back down, so
that means Zub is
hopefully,
back.
yeah. I think that's what all Sens fans are kind of reading in between the lines here. Now, final question for me, Keegan, and thanks so much for coming on. And we got to thank you again for being our designated driver last year. That was a massive boost. A lot of respect and appreciation for that. If DJ Smith, a lot of people, I feel like either you're hot or waiting on the fact that either DJ Smith has to go, or you're like, there's other issues or what have you. What's kind of your leash with DJ Smith here heading into 4-5 record so far?
4 wins after 15 games. I just think give him this next 5-game period is the evaluation period. You had your good homestand. You're going through some adversity now. How are you going to answer it? This is where we decide. And that's just how I think. So I'm going to be watching him closely the next 5 games, and I'm going to be doing a lot of my either panic button reaching or fire button reaching then.
All right. Well, we're excited for that. I like that. That's a very reasonable approach, I think, because he's had 9 games under his belt. There's some concerning trends, but at the end of the day, there is that homestand to hang your hat on as well, where the team looked pretty good, even defensively in those wins against Washington and then against Arizona, but asterisk Arizona. But all that to say, we appreciate your time, Keegan. Thanks for being a SensCentral citizen, and we look forward to catching up again down the road. All right, stick taps to Keegan for joining us. Really appreciate that conversation, and go give him a follow on Twitter as well. You can find him there, LIL_Little28. All right, Pilsy, I gave you a little bit of time. Give me a positive about this Senators team right now.
A positive, hashtag goalie friendly show. Anton Forsberg has been exactly what this team needs to win games. Now, Ross, as goalies, we know sometimes you can have the game of your life and still end up with a bunch of losses and not great stats. But as far as the eye test goes and keeping his team in, you mentioned it before we went to our SensCentral Citizen. They've been close in these games. They've had a chance to win, and the goaltending has been a big, if not the biggest part of it. So I think a lot of people, when Anton Forsberg got his deal, they said, oh boy, here it is. It's the Andrew Hammond, it's the Mike Condon, the backup tendies shining, and they're getting paid here. It's going to happen again to the Ottawa Senators. Not so fast. I don't think so. Anton Forsberg is the real deal, and he's proving that. Even without the security blanket of having Cam Talbot right there if things go wrong, he's been steady. So if you're looking for a positive from me, I think almost every single game, Ross, Anton Forsberg has been a SensCentral standout for one of us in the postcast. That's how good he's been, so that's a major positive.
Another positive, you need 2 goalies in this league, and it looks like Cam Talbot could be ready by Saturday. I'm excited to see him in a regular season game after he was hurt in the preseason in his first appearance. Tried to battle through it in practice, got the x-ray, came back as a fractured rib. My positive is Jake Sanderson, once again, another guy who's been a positive all throughout the season. He just looks so smooth, a veteran out there. I can even extend it just the hashtag #NodakSens, because Shane Pinto, we haven't even said it. Stick taps. Stick taps are in order for Shane Pinto. NHL's Rookie of the Month. Shane Pinto, 6 goals and an assist. Very well deserving for that. So Shane Pinto, Jake Sanderson are 2 very big positives for me. As is, I'll go so far as saying that Brady Tkachuk has been fantastic. 6 goals, 11 points in 8 games. Batherson, I would say the same, but there's a couple plays I didn't love. Obviously, going right up the middle with the goalie pulled against Minnesota wasn't my favorite moment from him this year. Probably would have liked to see him stop up on that 2-on-0. I know it's going so fast and everything, but the defender was at the hash marks. If he just kind of slows down when he gets it, he just kind of like tapped it and then continued like a drive-by. If he just stops there, if it hits the pad, Vasilevsky had no way of getting back there. Like, he was way pulling himself out. Yeah. He would have just like grabbed it and put it in. So, but I'll go with definitely Sanderson and Pinto have been super impressive. and I'll throw the captain in there as well.
I don't have many other positives, Ross. I guess if I'm reaching into my Pillsy's positivity pouch.
Sorry, 12 points.
Some good alliteration there. I'm going to go with my guy, Tyler Mott. He's been a positive, and maybe the last couple games he hasn't been exactly a highlight, but for a guy you picked up as an insurance blanket for $1.3 million on a one-year deal, when you know things with Formenton aren't shaking out, I think he's played pretty great too. So there's another positive for me.
Glad you brought that up. Darren Dreger with an update of sorts. However, it's just strange.
I mean, not really an update.
But they won't even mention that it's possible that the Hockey Canada investigation is a part of the reason why he's not signed. But Darren Dreger saying that the December 1st deadline, it's looming. If he doesn't sign by December 1st, he cannot play in the NHL this year. And that's not only for Ottawa. That's if he is going to get traded. And Dreger said a trade could be possible. I don't know who's touching that right now, but we'll see. But that's an update of sorts, is that it's on the radar now, at least of the insiders. Hey, there's only one RFA left. He scored 18 goals last year. Senators lost a forward for likely the entire season. Wouldn't it make sense to, make sure he's on the team? But, of course, we know there could be outstanding circumstances, outside circumstances. I shouldn't say outstanding, despite the connotation that I was going for. However, we'll see how that all plays out with Alex Formenton. But they said signing in Europe could also be an option. I mean, I don't think this is a hot take at all, but I don't think he's playing another game for your Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I don't think so either, Ross. I think it'd be mutually beneficial for both sides just to part. And again, blanket statement, there's no new news on the Hockey Canada stuff, so there's nothing new for us to dive into. Unfortunately, we're all waiting on news so we get some clarification and can kind of have some closure on this. Not that our sake of having closure is the important thing here. Obviously, we wish the most for the victim, that they get proper closure and everything settles in a just way here. But I think playing in Europe is probably what's going to happen to Formenton, because I don't think any team is going to be interested unless, I don't know, maybe the Yotes or some desperate teams that aren't concerned about the outside of hockey stuff. They're just trying to improve their team overall and collect assets. That's the only team that's going to be interested. So I think he's going to have to go to Europe. He has to play hockey. His agent is going to be doing everything he can to get him back on the ice, because this is a pivotal year in Alex Formenton's hockey career. So, but I'm with you. I would be shocked if Alex Formenton plays another game in an Ottawa Senators uniform.
So will I. All right, last note for us today. And if you want more information on the Sportico report that the Ottawa Senators are for sale, we made a YouTube video for that. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Breaking news, immediate reactions. That's what we do here on Locked On Senators. But Pillsy, did you happen to see Erik Karlsson hat-trick last night?
I wasn't watching the game, but I caught the highlights. And you know what? Say what you want about Carl, but I'm happy when he does well. That's a guy that will always kind of have a soft spot in Sens fans' hearts. And now that San Jose isn't really an imposing threat, let him go off. And this is a thing. I'm not surprised by this at all, Ross.
No,
the fact that the San Jose Sharks traded such a haul for Erik Karlsson didn't make sense to me for a single second. I never understood why that was Wilson's push all the chips in move. That, it never made sense, because they had Burns. You got Marc-Edouard Vlasic. And Burns needs to be the guy, and Karlsson needs to be the guy. It was obvious both of them were there. There's not enough room in San Jose for both of them. And now that Burns is gone, Karlsson is absolutely thriving, and that's no surprise at all. So happy to see Carl get his first ever NHL career hat trick.
Coming up on Locked On Senators, Erik Karlsson's old running mate, Mark Mathot, will be back on the show for his weekly appearance on Friday. We're hoping to line up Ian Mendes for tomorrow as well. We're looking forward to getting back to a Sens game day. We're going to bring some positive energy and good vibes against a team that they're going to need it against, because Vegas, Jack Eichel is BACK back. He is looking phenomenal. And that Vegas team, everyone was ready to plan their funeral. No, they're just
myself included, Ross. Yeah, I thought the goaltending was going to be a bigger issue, and it has not been.
That kid is unreal, Logan Thompson. We'll see if Ottawa gets the backup treatment for them tomorrow as Vegas is making their way through the Eastern Conference. They played against the Washington Capitals last night. So both teams will be fresh. I'm sure they'll be in Ottawa today practicing, and then tomorrow we'll have a full preview of that game. We appreciate everyone making us your first listen of the day. Win, lose, or draw, we'll be here to break it all down for you every step of the way. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan, and this has been the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.